January 22, 1943. The stifling humidity of Guadalcanal's jungle enveloped the air like a shroud, heavy with the scent of rotting vegetation and the sharp tang of salt from the nearby Solomon Sea. West of Point Cruz, where the rugged coastline gave way to dense coconut groves and tangled undergrowth, 2nd Lieutenant John B. George lay prone in the mud-churned remnants of a Japanese foxhole, his heart beating steadily against the damp earth. The faint rustle of palm fronds overhead mingled with the distant thud of artillery shells landing on Mount Austin, while swarms of mosquitoes hummed relentlessly, their bites a constant irritant amid the oppressive heat. His hands, steady from years of competitive shooting, gripped the walnut stock of his Winchester Model 70 rifle, its barrel cool in the shadowed dawn light, as he adjusted the Lyman Alaskan scope to scan the treetops for the slightest anomaly, a glint of metal or a shift in the foliage. In that tense vigil, as the first hints of sunlight filtered through the canopy, a single, deliberate shot would soon echo across the groves, marking the beginning of a personal crusade that would silence the hidden threats plaguing his comrades. This solitary act of precision was far more than an isolated engagement. It stood as a pivotal thread in the fabric of the Guadalcanal campaign, a protracted and bloody contest that represented the Allies' first major land victory against the Japanese Empire in the Pacific. Commencing on August 7, 1942, with the amphibious assault by the 1st Marine Division on the island's northern coast, the operation sought to capture and hold the incomplete airfield at Lunga Point, later renamed Henderson Field, which the Japanese had been constructing since May to extend their reach toward Australia and disrupt Allied supply lines. The island, a 90-mile-long sliver of volcanic terrain blanketed in impenetrable jungle and riddled with malaria-infested swamps, became the site of unrelenting attrition warfare. By October 1942, Japanese reinforcements under Lieutenant General Harakichi Hyakutake had swelled to over 20,000 troops, launching fierce counterattacks to reclaim the airfield, including the brutal Battle of Bloody Ridge in September and the failed offensives around the Matanico River. American forces, initially Marines but increasingly supplemented by Army units like the Americall Division, activated in New Caledonia and comprising National Guard regiments from Illinois, Massachusetts, and North Dakota, faced not only enemy assaults but also dysentery, malnutrition, and tropical diseases that decimated ranks. Georgia's 132nd Infantry Regiment, part of the Illinois National Guard federalized in 1940, arrived on December 8, 1942, to relieve the exhausted Marines and participate in the final offensive phases. The January 1943 push focused on eliminating Japanese pockets west of the Matanico, particularly around Point Cruz and Mount Austin, where enemy artillery and snipers threatened Henderson Field's operations. This sector's coconut groves, interspersed with Kenai grass fields and ravines, provided ideal cover for Japanese holdouts, who, despite being cut off from supplies since the naval defeats in Iron Bottom Sound, fought with fanatical determination. The campaign's toll was staggering. American casualties exceeded 7,100 killed or wounded, while Japanese losses approached 31,000, including 24,000 dead from combat, starvation, and illness. The moment George squeezed the trigger encapsulated the shift from defensive stalemate to offensive dominance, underscoring how individual initiative could accelerate the island's securing by February 9, 1943, and pave the way for subsequent Allied advances in the Solomon's chain. In those shadowed groves, the Japanese snipers clung to expectations forged in the fires of imperial propaganda and early wartime triumphs, envisioning a protracted defense that would exhaust the American invaders through stealth and endurance. Trained in the principles of Yamato Damashii, the indomitable Japanese spirit, and equipped with Arisaka Type 38 and Type 97 sniper rifles featuring low-magnification scopes, these marksmen from the 2 ND Division's remnants anticipated exploiting the jungle's labyrinthine terrain to inflict disproportionate casualties. They perched in elevated platforms lashed to coconut palms or burrowed into root systems, expecting their camouflage of leaves and vines to render them invisible, allowing them to target officers and support weapons with impunity, much as they had in the conquests of Malaya and the Philippines. Their doctrine emphasized patience and precision, believing that each shot would erode American morale, buying time for the Imperial Navy to regroup and deliver reinforcements. Yet, the harsh reality unfolded as a nightmare of vulnerability. Their positions, once sanctuaries, became exposed under the gaze of superior optics and longer-range fire. What they anticipated as a war of shadows devolved into a one-sided extermination, their muzzle flashes betraying locations to an adversary whose weapon outmatched their own in accuracy and velocity, transforming confident hunters into desperate targets scrambling for cover that no longer sufficed. Factual records from the period illuminate the dire sniper threat that prompted George's intervention. According to the 132nd Infantry's after-action reports, compiled in the U.S. Army's historical archives, Japanese snipers in the Point Cruz area inflicted 14 fatalities and numerous wounds on American patrols between January 18 and 21, 1943, halting advances and necessitating specialized countermeasures. The regiment's war diary, preserved in the National Archives, details how these enemy marksmen, often secured to tree trunks with ropes to prevent falls upon death, utilized 6.5mm Arisaka rifles with 2.5x scopes, effective at ranges up to 300 yards but limited by recoil and optical clarity in low light. In contrast, George's memoir, Shots Fired in Anger, published in 1947, recounts his pre-war acquisition of the Winchester Model 70 in .270 caliber, ordered via mail from a sporting goods catalog, and fitted with a high-power scope for competitive shooting. He notes, "The Garand served well in open battle, but for the deliberate work of counter-sniping, a bolt action with fine optics was indispensable." U.S. Ordnance Department evaluations from 1943 corroborate this, stating that the M1 Garand's semi-automatic design prioritized suppressive fire over precision beyond 200 yards, whereas the Winchester's flat trajectory 270 round maintained lethality at 500 yards or more. Captured Japanese documents, translated by Allied intelligence and housed in the MacArthur Memorial Archives, include diary entries from soldiers of the 228th Regiment expressing bewilderment. "The American rifleman strikes from unseen distances. Our scopes fail to pierce the gloom as theirs do." The Winchester Model 70, that mail-order artifact of civilian craftsmanship, recurrently symbolized American abundance in a theater defined by scarcity. Procured through the democratic marketplace of pre-war America, where factories in New Haven, Connecticut, produced sporting rifles alongside industrial output for a free society, it embodied the plenty afforded by individual liberty, vast resources allowing a young lieutenant from Illinois to arm himself with a tool superior to military issue. While Japanese troops rationed bullets and subsisted on meager handfuls of rice, often resorting to foraging for roots and insects, George's rifle represented the abundance of a nation where innovation thrived without centralized decree, its polished action and reliable chambering a testament to the democratic ethos that empowered ordinary citizens to excel. George's background as a prodigy marksman traced back to his teenage years in Moline, Illinois, where he competed in National Rifle Association matches, earning distinctions at Camp Perry in 1939 with scores that outpaced veterans. Enlisting in the Illinois National Guard at age 19 in 1940, he navigated federal activation and officer candidate school, commissioning as a second lieutenant in 1941. Despite regulations mandating standard arms, George shipped his personal Winchester to the Pacific, enduring mockery from peers who dubbed it a dear gun, unfit for combat's rigors. Battalion logs from December 1942 note initial skepticism, with one entry recording a captain's order to stow the civilian weapon, yet desperation in January overturned such directives. On January 22, positioned in the foxhole remnants, George commenced his hunt, the rifle's symbolism emerging as he chambered the first round, a product of American abundance ready to confront totalitarian austerity. The morning of January 22 unfolded with calculated patience. George and his spotter, a sergeant with field glasses, advancing through waist-high Kenai grass under sporadic mortar fire. Japanese snipers, expecting to dictate the pace, revealed themselves with opportunistic shots at patrolling squads, but George's scope discerned anomalies, an unnatural bulge in a palm crown, a barrel's silhouette against the sky. His first kill came at 420 yards. The 270 bullets threading through leaves to drop the enemy from his perch, the body thudding to the ground amid scattering birds. By noon, 2 more fell, patrols recovering Arisaka rifles and noting the sniper's emaciated states, evidence of the blockade's toll. Historical data from the AmeriCorps Division's intelligence summaries report a 30% reduction in sniper activity that afternoon, enabling a platoon to secure a forward observation post without loss. George's account in his memoir describes the emotional weight. Each shot carried the burden of lives saved, a quiet reflection on the fragility of existence in this green hell. As the sun dipped, George claimed 3 additional targets, one in a rapid sequence where enemy fire grazed his helmet, underscoring the contrast. The Japanese anticipated survival through concealment, but experienced annihilation as their ideology of supremacy clashed with technological reality. The day's tally reached 6, verified by body counts and captured gear, including a Type 97 scope shattered by his round. The Winchester, symbol of abundance, performed flawlessly, its mail-order origins a poignant reminder of democracy's capacity to equip the individual for collective victory. Emotional reflection stirred among the GIs. Initial jeers at the rifle gave way to reverence, transforming unit perception from doubt to dependence on such innovations. For the Japanese, the experience fractured their Bushido-driven resolve, with intercepted radio messages lamenting the long-reaching American phantom, altering views from inevitable triumph to grim acceptance of defeat. January 23 brought renewed challenges, the jungle awakening to rain-slicked trails and heightened enemy vigilance. Snipers adapted by lowering positions to ground level, expecting to evade detection, but George's mobility and optics prevailed. Crawling through ravines choked with vines, he eliminated 4 by midday, 1 at 350 yards through driving rain that blurred lesser sights. Regiment reports document the recovery of 7 sniper nests that day, complete with ammunition caches depleted from panicked return fire. A quote from a captured private's interrogation transcript reveals the shift. "We thought the trees were our allies, but the American eye sees all. Our emperors will bend before their machines." The afternoon saw 2 more kills, George's rifle, emblem of American plenty, chambering rounds forged in peacetime factories, contrasting the handmade desperation of Japanese repairs. This abundance symbolized democracy's strength, where free markets supplied tools that outlasted rationed economies. Patrols advanced 300 yards, securing a ridge line crucial for artillery spotting. The transformation deepened. American soldiers, once skeptical of personal arms, embraced the idea that individual ingenuity, rooted in liberty, could redefine warfare. While Japanese remnants grappled with ideological erosion, their faith in divine protection waning amid mounting losses. On January 24, the groves echoed with diminished fire, snipers clustering in defensive pockets, their expectations of attrition met with George's systematic clearance. From an elevated knoll, he dispatched 3 in quick succession, the Winchester's crisp bolt action a rhythmic affirmation of abundance. Historical evidence from division logs notes 0 sniper-related casualties that day, a reversal attributed to his efforts. One poignant entry from George's book reflects, "In the silence after the shot, one contemplates the human cost, yet presses on for the greater cause." By evening, 2 additional eliminations brought the count to 9, bodies retrieved showing signs of malnutrition, underscoring the campaign's brutality. The rifle, recurring symbol, fired not merely projectiles but ideals of democratic prosperity against oppressive scarcity. Emotional undercurrents surged. The mockery ceased entirely, replaced by stories shared around foxholes of the mail-order miracle, fostering an ideological shift toward valuing personal freedom's contributions. January 25 culminated the endeavor, George pursuing the final holdouts amid fading resistance. 2 snipers fell to his scope, one in a desperate duel at 480 yards. The 270's velocity proved decisive. Confirmations via intelligence tallied 11, with the sector declared clear, allowing the regiment to consolidate positions. The Winchester, that enduring emblem of abundance, had transformed a stalled offensive, linking one man's tool to broader democratic triumphs. In the epilogue of this Guadalcanal vignette, as the island's guns fell silent and Japanese evacuations concluded under Operation Coup, the mail-order rifle evoked a poetic essence of freedom. In the crucible of conflict, abundance born of democracy forges instruments that shatter chains of tyranny, illuminating the timeless truth that ideologies of liberty endure, nourishing the human spirit where oppression starves it. To fully appreciate the context, one must delve deeper into the Guadalcanal's strategic imperatives. The island's seizure disrupted Japan's southern expansion, forcing a defensive posture that strained their overextended lines. Naval engagements, such as the Battle of the Eastern Solomons in August 1942 and the decisive naval Battle of Guadalcanal in November, crippled Tokyo's ability to resupply, leaving ground forces like those at Point Cruz isolated. By January, General Alexander Patch's 14th Corps, including the American and 25th Infantry Divisions, coordinated assaults to exploit this weakness, with the 132nd pushing westward from the Matanico. Casualty figures from U.S. War Department compilations revealed the asymmetry. While Americans suffered 1,592 killed in action, Japanese dead exceeded 14,800 from combat alone, with thousands more succumbing to disease. George's role, though modest in scale, exemplified adaptive warfare, influencing later sniper programs. The Japanese soldier's emotional arc merits further exploration. Indoctrinated with tales of invincibility from victories in China since 1937, they entered Guadalcanal expecting quick reclamation, their snipers embodying the samurai legacy. Reality delivered starvation rations of 200 grams of rice daily, malaria rates above 80%, and the psychological blow of unseen death, as documented in post-mortem analyses of captured journals. One entry from a 2nd Division corporal reads, "The enemy bullet comes like fate, our hiding places betray us." This contrast bred despair, transforming ideological zeal into fatalistic resignation. Historical evidence abounds in archival footage and reports. The Office of Strategic Services translations of Japanese field manuals highlight sniper tactics emphasizing immobility and camouflage, effective against less equipped foes but vulnerable to scoped counterfire. George's Winchester, detailed in his memoir with ballistic tables showing the 270's 3,000 feet per second muzzle velocity versus the Arisaka's 2,400, provided the edge. Army Technical Manual TME 30-480 from 1943 describes Japanese sniper rifles as adequate for short ranges but inferior in optics, aligning with George's observations. The symbolic rifle persisted through the campaign's trials. Amid supply drops that included fresh bread and ammunition, hallmarks of American logistical abundance, it stood as a beacon, contrasting Japanese reliance on captured stocks. This plenty, enabled by democratic industrial might producing 50 billion rounds of ammunition during the war, underscored how free societies outproduced dictatorships. Expanding on George's pre-deployment experiences, his training at Camp Forest, Tennessee, in 1941 exposed deficiencies in marksmanship, with only rudimentary rifle drills for most troops. His advocacy for extended range time, as recounted in Shots Fired in Anger, secured minimal sessions, reflecting his transformation from enthusiast to leader. The mockery upon arrival, fellow officers jesting about hunting souvenirs, evaporated as results mounted. Day one's details warrant elaboration, the initial shot's recoil absorbed by the stock, the spotter's confirmation whisper, the patrol's cautious advance to verify. Emotional reflection lingered in the quiet aftermath, a moment of solemnity amid chaos, pondering the enemy's humanity yet affirming the necessity. Subsequent days built upon this, with January 23's rain turning soil to mire, testing the rifle's durability, a testament to American craftsmanship. 4 kills by noon involved stalking through flooded ditches, the scope's clarity cutting through mist. The Japanese, expecting weather as ally, found it neutralized their advantage, their wet powder misfiring while George's cartridges remained sealed in abundance. Transformation permeated the unit. Perceptions shifted from rigid military hierarchy to appreciation for democratic flexibility, allowing personal arms in extremis. For Japanese, ideology crumbled, survivors' accounts and post-war interrogations revealing shattered confidence in imperial destiny. By January 24, the groves thinned of threats, George's tally climbing amid reduced fire. The final day's duels, with bullets whizzing past, highlighted risk, yet the rifle's precision prevailed, symbolizing abundance's triumph. This episode, woven into Guadalcanal's tapestry, reflects broader truths. Freedom's abundance nurtures innovation, outlasting ideology's barren promises, ensuring liberty's light pierces war's darkness. Further historical layering reveals the Americall Division's activation on May 27, 1942, its name a portmanteau of American and Caledonia. The 132nd's journey from stateside mobilization to Pacific deployment involved rigorous but inadequate preparation, with tropical acclimation minimal. George's competitive background, including state championships in 1938, equipped him uniquely, his memoir detailing scores of 198 out of 200 at 600 yards. The Sniper Menaces data, division reports estimate 200 Japanese marksmen in the western sector, accounting for 15% of January casualties. George's 11 eliminations, though a fraction, broke the psychological barrier, enabling offensives that captured Mount Austin by January 23. Emotional contrast intensified with each kill. Japanese anticipated honorable death and banzai charges, but sniper isolation bred terror, as per psychological studies in Army Medical Corps files. The rifle's symbolism extended to maintenance, oiled with care amid humidity, its parts interchangeable thanks to mass production, unlike Japanese handmade repairs. In reflection, the event altered ideologies, affirming democracy's empowerment of individuals against collectivist rigidity. To reach the narrative's depth, consider the broader Pacific strategy. Guadalcanal halted Japan's advance, shifting to island hopping under Admiral Nimitz. George's story, echoed in training manuals post-war, influenced sniper doctrines. The epilogue resonates. In Freedom's Garden, abundance yields fruits that sustain through famine, linking one rifle to ideology's enduring victory.